And welcome to Tackle the Board. My name is Chris Exusion. You can find me at Chris Ebom on Twitter, and my co-host Russ Reese at Vegas Line Reader. We are powered by the Sharp app. You can watch us right on the Sharp app. Download the Sharp app on Google, Apple Store. It's very easy. The Sharp app, very simple. You're going to have lines. You're going to figure out which ones are the best lines. They're going to set it all up for you. You're going to have videos with the guys with their picks and everything else. Hedge calculator, you name it, all of it. It's the Sharp app. Let's get to it. Russ, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Yeah, definitely excited. We just got started with the Sharp app, and I'm actually excited. I put my first bet in. I put on the Seattle Mariners for a winner today, so 1-0.
Very nice. We all know Russ is a baseball man, so when he's putting in a baseball bet, it's got to be good. I know I got a couple of college football plays I'm going to be putting in as well, so after the show, I'll get those locked in as well. But speaking of football, week 0 last week, a great week to say the least. The games that I covered, the Illinois-Wisconsin, I talked about Illinois with the points. I loved the under. That was one of my main plays. That hit as well. And then, of course, my favorite game, the game I wrote about on covers, my debut article, UTEP and New Mexico State, by far my favorite game on the board. Loved UTEP -9, no problem. They won 30-3, and that under hit. And I actually posted it for 54.5, and it actually went up to 60, and it still covered that under. So we were way ahead of the money. So we were even spotting the book 6 points, 5-6 points. So no problem. We still hit it. A great week. Russ, what do you have to say about week 0?
No, it was definitely a great week. I figured we were on top of things on every game. I knew that one game that I gave out, the Hawaii and UCLA, definitely seemed like a tough game. I talked about the Hawaii defense, but we're going to realize that defense will be good against not teams from the Power 5. So we'll just remember that for the future. But the other game, Fresno State, I think me and everyone else in the world had. I think there might have been one guy in the whole world that probably had Connecticut, and he should not be betting college football. So definitely an easy winner there with Fresno State. That was easy money. And that me and Chris, we both put out free picks all the time. If you guys follow our Twitter pages, I ended up jumping on Nebraska +9.5. I threw in a live line on that game. They were down 2 scores. I knew Nebraska was going to get a score to close out that game. That was just easy money there. So anyway, we can make money watching the game. So
yep, absolutely, making you guys money. That's the most important thing, of course. As far as that Hawaii game goes, we knew the secondary was good, but I guess that run game, as shown, was not good at all. Hawaii pretty much just ran all over him for the most part. And we know that with Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly is the guy that has the run going and everything like that. We'll get more into UCLA later on, of course. But let's get into week 1. We got a humongous slate. We got big games. We got games we like, we love. I cannot wait to get into it. Russ, let's get this party started. I know you got a big marquee game. What do you got to line up for us to lead off?
Definitely going to be going over all the big games for you guys this week. First game, Penn State at Wisconsin. Spreads at -5.5, and the over-under's at 49.5. Wisconsin, they're returning a lot of starters here. They got 17 returning starters, 8 return on the defense, where they actually ranked 5th in defensive yards allowed in the whole nation. The problem last year with Wisconsin was their offense. They averaged about 25 points per game, and that was actually 2 of their best receivers actually both got hurt early in the season. Just demolished the whole mindset of the whole offense. They couldn't put up any points. I looked at the 3 prior years before last year, 34, 30, and 34. Those were how many points per game Wisconsin averaged on offense. So just an off year last year. They're going to be much improved. They're actually favorites here to win their actual conference. So I think this is a big game for them here. Looking at Penn State, I think they're going to be improved, but this is just a game where they're facing Wisconsin. I think it's a tough spot here. You got Penn State. The 2 best team defenses that they faced last year was Ohio State, which they lost by 13, and they faced Iowa, another top defense, which they lost by 20 to Iowa. So Penn State's also returning 1 defensive lineman. So Wisconsin, they always have a big offensive line. They're going to take advantage of that weak rush defense of Penn State in this game. And they also lost Micah Parsons to the Cowboys. He got drafted. So definitely some holes there on Penn State. I think Wisconsin can take advantage as they're going to get back to averaging 30 points a game this season. So I like Wisconsin here, -5.5.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I was looking at this game over here. I guess I'm more bullish on the Penn State Nittany Lions. I'm actually on the opposite side of you for this game. I actually like getting the 5.5 points. What it comes down to pretty much, Penn State, one of the top recruiting classes in the entire country. They bring back 9 stars, including the quarterback, and 7 on defense. And besides Ohio State, Penn State has the best combo of wide receivers and running backs in the Big Ten this year. Sean Clifford can throw and run with it. He's a senior. I like the fact that he is a senior. This is a very important game. There's a lot of experience behind this Penn State team. And the defense, I feel like, is a little bit better than you're coming off with for the most part. All 3 units of the defense rank inside the top 17 in the country. So while the offense is experienced, Penn State brings back 2 of their biggest targets on offense, on wide receiver, leading with Jahan Dotson. I just think this team is real solid, and I think they have a chance to shock here. Actually, I think they could actually win outright, but I'll take the 5.5. I really like that there. I know Wisconsin is the class of the Big Ten West. I get it. Veteran O-line, solid running back core. They're built on the run game, like you talked about. Their quarterback, Graham Mertz. Will he step up this year? He threw 9 TDs with 5 interceptions. Not really that great. And I know their defense is going to be great as well. You know, I mean, they're touted to be very good this year. So
you also got to check to make sure to see if they played a full season too, you know. And then the 2 top receivers were out too, so that could have to do with that too. So
yeah, that's a very good point. So those are kind of the things we're looking at there. But I'm on the opposite side. I'm going to take Nittany Lions plus 5.5. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think Penn State's got a shot. He's got a lot of talent. It's really going to come down to James Franklin at coaching. He's had some blunders in the last couple of years of coaching. He's an outstanding recruiter, but as long as he doesn't make too many mistakes, I think this should be within a field goal game. Possible chance for the Nittany Lions right here.
Nice. All right, so we'll jump into your next game. You have the Western Michigan at Michigan -17 and over-unders at 67.
Yep, that's right. So Western Michigan Broncos are going to be going to the Big House against Michigan. The line is 17. Pretty much with this game for the most part, Western Michigan's really good. They can score all sorts of ways. They're the top of the MAC pretty much. They're going to be the favorites there. They move the ball through the air and on the ground with a really experienced offensive line. Caleb Elby gets 2 out of his top 3 wide receivers back on offense, and he's ranked. And the quarterback, he's ranked 2nd in the nation last year behind Mac Jones on adjusted net yards per pass attempt. So that says a lot about this quarterback. He's been unbelievable. He can make big plays with his arms. I expect him to even be better this year with the experience he has. The defensive side with the Broncos, they have the upper hand on the Wolverines. The Wolverines defense is not that good. They're just not complete. The Western Michigan Broncos, they have a higher defensive rating than the Michigan Wolverines last year based on Football Outsiders. I don't expect Michigan to make big improvements on defense. They have a new defensive coordinator, and I just don't know if they're going to jump into, get into that system soon enough, especially on the first game. As far as Michigan goes, this offense has been very lackluster. That's been like the theme with Harbaugh. His offenses have not been able to do anything. I understand the quarterback hasn't really thrown McNamara. He hasn't really thrown any interceptions, but he's been more of like a game manager, and that hasn't really impressed me. His first full 2 starts last year, Penn State and Rutgers, weren't that great. He in the Penn State game, he only threw for 91 yards. I mean, he just wasn't, and that was a full game for him. It wasn't like he just got thrown in there with a couple pass attempts. So I love Western Michigan plus 17 right here. And if you're looking at the over/under, I think points are going to be scored both ways for the most part, especially with Western Michigan. I like the over 67 as well. This is the highest total this matchup's ever been. I know they've played only a couple times within a long period of time, but the sportsbook feel like it's going to be a really high-scoring game. And I believe these defenses with these suspect backfields that don't really cause turnovers, I think they're going to take advantage of them. And a little fact about this game as well, we got 71% of the people betting Michigan right now, and the line is dropping. So I love when that happens. Yep. It's one of those kind of lines where you drop it half a point, so you make the betting public feel like, hey, we're getting a little value with this big favorite, and it already went down half a point. I'm all for it, and I'm not falling for it.
Yeah,
Western Michigan Broncos.
Yeah, this is actually jumping. I saw the opening line. This is actually dropped from 20.5 to a 17. So it's this is getting some sharp action. And me and Chris, we've been betting a long time. And this is something I see early in the college football season. When you see a sharp line moving about 3 points or more, you want to pounce on these type of games, guys. So down from 20.5 to 17, I would definitely jump on Western Michigan. Looks like a smart play. And like you said, this over-under is high. So I love teams, underdogs with high over-unders. They should be able to keep up with Michigan and be putting up points. So definitely would be a smart play to parlay it too if anyone wanted to take the plus 17 with the over. I think they would both hit in this same game. So definitely a good pick there.
Yeah, so now we're going to go to Russ's game. This is a big game. We got Miami, Alabama. It's a minus 19.5 line with Alabama. The over-under is at 61.5. Russ, where are we going with this game?
Yeah, we got Alabama minus 19.5. Big spread here and big for a reason. De'Ara King, he's coming off that torn ACL injury last year with Miami, Florida. That was Miami, Florida's big improvement year last year. Now you got De'Ara King coming off of that ACL injury that hasn't even been a full year. And now he's going to be coming into a game playing against Alabama's defense that has 8 returning starters on defense. You're just throwing them out to the wolves in this first game. I'm a big fan of Bryce Young, so I'm not worried about the offense this year with Mac Jones leaving. That's not a big deal to me. Alabama knows how to put up points. Their offensive line's always huge. They control the game. Miami's 2 toughest opponents last year were Clemson. They lost by 25. And North Carolina, they lost by 26. So I don't trust Miami against elite competition. So definitely like Alabama here. I'll give the points minus 19.5 all day.
So I'm kind of torn on this game. It's not a game I really love, but typically last year, the bet was always Alabama first half. It was always the bet. They just would be up 30 points, and it would start going up 20 points, 22 points, and if they would be covering left and right. But I think with the uncertainty going on with the offense is only bringing back 3 starters. The defense, don't get me wrong, it's gonna be awesome. Defense is gonna be great. Alabama's brought back 8 of their 9 leading tacklers, led by Christian Harris. I mean, this Bama defense is going to be for real. I just don't know if the offense is going to be right there right away. Steve Sarkisian, the offensive coordinator, he's the coach of Texas now, so they're throwing somebody else in there as well. I don't have his name off the top of my head, and I think this is going to be like a Hail Mary kind of thing for Miami to kind of show they belong, and I think they can hang this first half. I don't think they can cover the spread per se, but with 10.5, you're getting that hook on your side. I think people are going to be pounding Alabama first half, and rightfully so, because they have been, a first half covering machine. I just think in this spot only, with this senior kind of team, Miami, they bring 10 players back, including King, and 9 on defense. The whole wide receiver core with Michael Harley is leading this group. The entire offensive line's back. Bubba Bolden, the safety, leads this defense here. There's just a lot of seniors here, and I think they can hang for a first half. So for plus 10.5, I would take Miami plus 10.5, but I'm not crazy about the game.
No, definitely. That's cool. So we'll jump into your next game. You got Indiana at Iowa, minus 3.5, and the over-under is at 45.5.
Yeah, so this is going to be a really intense Big Ten game. It's going to be on the Big Ten Network. Both teams are ranked. They both had great years. They both have firepower, but different ways. Indiana with the air attack, Iowa with the running game. We know Iowa, they love to run the ball, to set up the pass. The Hoosiers are the opposite. They actually suck at the run. They don't even bother with the run. They just air it out. And they have the best quarterback in the Big Ten. So I totally understand where they're coming from that as well. But the game really comes down to coaching and the line play. And it seems that Iowa checks both of those boxes over the Indiana Hoosiers. Kirk Ferentz, he's been there for 23 years. He's had experience in competing against ranked programs, and he's had good success against them as well. Iowa's offensive line, no joke. they'll be able to dictate the run game, give Spencer Petras, the quarterback for Iowa, give him time in that pocket to make, those big plays. The Hoosiers' biggest downfall is the defensive line, and they simply have a hard time stopping the run. They're going to be on their heels all day, pretty much. It's going to be tough. I know their linebacking core and their defensive backs are good, but their line stinks. It's not really that good. They don't get after the quarterback that much. I really like Iowa -3.5. I think they're going to get a lot of public money on Indiana because they were a good team last year, and you're getting over that field goal. So it's looking like, oh, this is the easy bet to make. I think Iowa wins this game over 3.5 points. I really like that as well. If I'm going with the over-under, I like the under 45.5. I think both defenses will play pretty well. It's just going to come down to the line play, like I said before. It's going to be a hard-fought game. If you're looking at the past games they played, all the over-unders have been at least 52.5 points. This one's set at 45.5, and those 52.5 point over-unders, they were all over. All of them went way over. This one's way down below. This is a red flag for me, 45.5. I like that under as well, Russ.
Yeah, this is probably all the games we're going to cover. I would say this is probably the toughest game that I would be looking at. Michael Penix, the stud quarterback, he comes back. This is another question mark. Great. I love stud quarterbacks, but he's coming off a big injury from last year too. This line is kind of talking to me toward Indiana a little bit, moving from 5.5 down to 3.5. We'll see if it drops anymore. If it drops anymore, then I'll definitely think it's kind of fishy, and that would be an Indiana line if it drops down to 3 or 2.5. But definitely nothing I would be laying my money on this game. Probably one of the best matchups. You can see the low over under. Should be a battle going back and forth. Indiana, they shut down. They were one of the best teams in the red zone on defense, I noticed. But they played a lot of weak competition last year. So Iowa can put up some points. So you talking about the over here would probably be the smart play here in this game.
Okay. We're going to get into your next game. LSU -3 at UCLA over under 65. What do we got here, Russ?
Yeah, I got LSU here. They're actually down to -2.5. This LSU team, they were very inexperienced last year. They only had 8 starters. They were absolutely awful last season. They couldn't stop anyone in the beginning of the season. They actually turned it on at the second half of the season. And this is also a big program. I mean, you don't see a team like this, like an LSU huge program, are terrible 2 years in a row. Ed Orgeron, he knows he's got to win. This is one of the games on his schedule. He has to win. You don't lose to Pac-10 opponents. I mean, anytime you put a SEC team against the Pac-10, you're going to catch me betting on the SEC team every time. I do not like the Pac-10. I think that they're the worst conference out of the Power 5. And I also think that people will be overreacting to the 44-10 blowout last week, UCLA against Hawaii. That's probably why that line's dropping. So I think this is a good spot where people are sleeping on LSU. Everyone's getting all high and mighty on UCLA just because of that win. And Chip Kelly, he's not doing anything crazy out there. He's actually, after that win last week, he's at 11-21 straight up as a coach with UCLA. So definitely doesn't scare me. I'll take LSU here.
And your hatred of the Pac-10 is so big. You don't even call him the Pac-12.
Pac-10, yeah, I'm calling it Pac-10, not Pac-12.
You hate him so much, you won't even recognize
all
Utah,
that Big
Colorado.
10 talk.
But this game does seem kind of tough to me. I like where your head's at with LSU. So I found out that Max Johnson's going to be the starting quarterback. Miles Brennan did hurt his left arm. So Orgeron decided to give Max Johnson the go. He likes both of these quarterbacks. They're both veterans. Yeah, UCLA. They didn't do much in the air. The air game was terrible. Mm-hmm. I think he threw for 150 yards, but the rush game was the big part of it. Zach Charbonnet, he had 244. He actually had 106 rushing yards on 6 attempts. So it was like over 17 yards rushing. I think it is kind of a fool's gold. You don't think they're going to be able to run on LSU like this?
No, and that's the other thing. I would kind of lean the under here because LSU's defense was absolutely terrible last year. They're not going to be as bad as they were last year, so you're probably getting some value here taking the under. People are going to think LSU's defense stinks. UCLA runs the fast offense, but UCLA's defense is actually a lot better than the past years. So this could turn into, I think, a lower type of scoring game. I mean, getting over 65 is a lot of points. So I can see a
Yeah.
lot. And like you said, UCLA likes to run the ball. The clock will be running. They won't be able to complete a lot of passes. So definitely see the clock running.
Yeah, it's just seems like kind of a tough game because UCLA does look good, but it's kind of like what are you gonna? I mean, LSU still LSU, but like they have a lot of questions on defense, and those questions are still there. And I
Hmm.
believe they do have a new defensive coordinator, so it's kind of like,
Hmm.
is that defense going to step up? They do get SEC talent. I mean, they were just coming off a few
Hmm.
years ago of winning the national championship, so they still are recruiting very well. So I don't
Yeah.
think that's the issue as well. So you probably had guys in the back before that are going to be coming up here to play really well and everything. And guys, just remember, if you guys want to make any comments, have any questions, we're more than happy to answer them. We love that with the whole live feed and everything.
Definitely. So we'll jump into your next game. You got the Stanford at Kansas State -2.5, and the over-unders at 53.5.
Oh, it's at -2.5 now.
What do you got it at 3?
I have it at 3.
Okay, -3 then.
Okay, well, hey, some books have minus two and a
Yeah,
half,
some
some have
books. Yeah,
3.
exactly.
That still doesn't scare me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at 2 teams right now. We talked about it on our first show, Tackle the Board, before we came on the Sharp app. Uh, Stanford's not going to be that good. They're only bringing 6 back on offense, a freshman quarterback. They rank 10th in linebackers, 8th in defensive backs, 7th in defensive line. And you might be thinking I'm talking about in the country. I'm talking in the Pac-12. That's not good. This defense is going to stink. They can't get to the quarterback. They can't stop the run. I don't trust Tanner McKee because his name's Tanner and he's a freshman. I just don't think he's going to be that good. He pretty much doesn't have any weapons around him. So how is he going to be good if he's going to have weapons there? You can't throw and pass it to him, catch, throw to himself. It's just not going to happen. Kansas State, on the other hand, 10 back on offense, including QB, and 6 on defense. They returned their 2 running backs, combining for 10 touchdowns, 5 yards a carry, 1,100 yards rushing. The wide receiver course back, they all averaged 15 yards a reception, all of them, which is
Mhm.
awesome. So they're usually known for their run game, Kansas State, but their wide receivers have been getting the job done. And Skylar Thompson, a senior, the quarterback, he's getting the nod. He's the most talented out of the 2 quarterbacks. They were talking about running a 2 quarterback system, but I
Mhm.
believe he's going to get most of the play for the most part because he is just the better quarterback. I will be more than happy to take -3 with Kansas State and get ahead of Stanford before those lines start getting really ridiculous with the Cardinals. So give me Kansas State -3 or even 2.5. I don't even care. I think it's going to be more than that.
Yeah. No, I'm in agreement with you here with Kansas State. We both don't like Stanford this year. Kansas State, they are, like you said, very experienced team. When you start first month of the season, when you're betting, you always want to take the experienced teams over the inexperienced teams. This is a great spot. And little tidbit for you, Skylar Thompson at quarterback. This is a 6th-year senior. So that's something you
Doctor,
love right there. Exactly. So
Dr. Skyler.
yeah, yeah. Kansas State last year, they were a team I was down on because they didn't even have any of their offensive linemen didn't even return last year. So I was down on Kansas State, and they shocked me. They actually play hard for their coach, and they actually ended up beating Oklahoma as a plus 27.5 underdog last year. It was absolutely crazy. So to not return any offensive linemen, you can tell this team is only going to get better this season. So we're talking about playing a Stanford team that's doesn't have anyone coming back. This is definitely a great spot if you guys want to jump on this game for Kansas State. I might throw a bet on this game as well.
Nice. And we're going to get into the final game. This is a huge
Mhm.
game. I know Russ is all over this game. Georgia, Clemson. Clemson -3, over under 51. Russ, where are we going with this game?
Yeah, this game was tough at first, and the more I looked into it, I actually love Georgia here, and the line's actually screaming at me. I just noticed that it dropped to -2.5, so I'm getting Georgia at +2.5. I'm not a guy that loves value. When I see that Clemson's only -2.5, I know that all the suckers are going to jump on that. I love Georgia here. The over-under is also showing me that this is a Georgia type of game because it's only at 50.5. You lose Trevor Lawrence, you lose ETN. Big losses there. Bring in Ujale. He played a couple games last year. He did well, but The competition was definitely not a defense like Georgia. I think he put up some stats against Boston College, Notre Dame. He had some good stats in those games, but this is a whole new ball game. You're playing Georgia very deep on the defensive front. They're going to get pressure on them. Georgia actually had the most underclassmen last year in starts for the SEC, and they still finished number 12 in the whole country in yards allowed. And that was actually a down year for the defense. The 3 previous years, they gave up 13 points per game, 19 points per game, and 16 points per game, as they gave up 20 last year. So this defense is only going to improve. This defense is going to be solid. They have a great balance on offense, too. I think this is just a great spot here for Georgia to take advantage of Clemson. And also with Clemson, I feel like if they lose this game, it's not like this game, I feel like, is so much bigger for Georgia. Because if Clemson loses this, all they got to do is just beat up the ACC. Their conference, their side of the conference is just a cupcake schedule. So they lose this game, they could win out, and they'll still just throw Clemson in there to make the playoffs. So Georgia actually has to fight against SEC teams. They definitely need this game to actually make the playoff.
Yeah, I could not agree with you anymore. I love Georgia in this spot as well. They're bringing back their top 5 running backs. They all average at least 5 yards a carry. Absolutely sick. I love Kirby Smart. I just love watching Georgia play. They're just so aggressive, and their defense is so much fun to watch. They bring back their entire wide receiver core with their production. Kyrus Jackson and George Pickens leads this group. They did outstanding last year. Tons of talent on the offensive side. Really, it comes down to JT Daniels. He has no excuse but to be great this year. He has so many great weapons. I know he's been back and forth, and you know, are you going to really get a good year out of JT Daniels? I mean, this has to be it. This has to be the year for it. As far as the defense goes, the defensive line and the linebackers should be one of the best units in the country. And they only allowed 20 points per game last year. Absolutely sick. This team is hungry. They're going to get after it. Kirby Smart's going to get these guys ready. I don't think Clemson knows what's going to hit them right here, honestly. This could be a punch you in the mouth kind of game. And I really like Georgia here, so I'm totally on board with you there.
Definitely.
So that'll do it for our show today. A little short episode today because we only got into our college for the most part. But I wanted to thank everyone for viewing, watching on either on the Sharp app or on YouTube. We appreciate. Spread the word. Tackle the Board is now with the Sharp app. And next week is going to be a big week. We're finally getting to NFL Week 1, Russ.
I know. I can't wait to start studying for that. So many games to study. So definitely going to be a long week.
Yep, we got a lot of work to do. We're gonna break down every game for the NFL next week. We're gonna have Anthony back on. We're gonna ask him back on again to help us out for DFS for Week 1.
Anthony's gonna come on. He's gonna pick all his sleepers for if you guys are doing DFS. So he'll definitely get us some sleepers for that every Sunday.
Absolutely. I cannot wait for that. And then, of course, we're going to get into college week 2. We're going to talk about this week as well, recapping what we thought about the week in general, because football starts tomorrow. Well, actually, technically it started today, but we got a big slate on Thursday. So we're looking forward to that as well. So without further ado, guys, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. And let's go tackle that board, Russ.
That's all right.